Hey everyone, this is Dan with the Spiritual Underground Podcast, coming to you from the wood shop live with an in-person podcast. Something about being able to look across the table in the guy's eyes, it's a lot better than looking at the screen, but I will take what I can get. 12-Step Spiritual Recovery is a book by James Christopher Cone. It can be found on Amazon. It is the great compendium, the magnum opus of the 12 steps. It is designed for everyone. No one's left out of this book. You don't have to be an alcoholic or an addict. Fits three categories the way I see it. People who want to level up in their current 12-step fellowship. This is a different angle at looking at the same work. People who don't fit the traditional 12-step fellowships. And people who just they just never could get AA. This is just another way to get to the same tools that we know work. I was standing around talking last night with a guy, and it's in that there's a solution, and there's a line in there's a solution in the big book that says something to the effect of that we could see that it really worked in others. And I point that out because our group is so apparent in that way that when I'm working with a new guy, I'm like, you see him, you see him, you see him. You see what is happening, and this particular gentleman knows two people from for a lot of years now, and actually witnessed the transformation of those people who they knew who they used to be and who they are now. So get you a taste of this 12-step stuff. It'll change your life. Darren Frank's music's wrapped around this podcast. Thank you, Darren, for allowing me and to use your wonderful tunes to support this thing. And I got my energy's off tonight. I had a job today and had two people helping me on it yesterday. And I normally don't take jobs that take more. It's one of my limitations. I don't accept jobs that are too big for one person. And but once in a while I step in it. And I needed some help, and I wrangled up some help yesterday, and I had two guys for a few hours yesterday, and then neither one of them showed up today. They didn't. Well, one said he'd be there and wasn't, and one told me at something like 4 a.m. that he had to take his kid or his wife to the hospital. So I understand that sorta. So it threw me off base, and then I got rained on and didn't get as much done as I thought I was going to get done, and come screaming into the door with sliding into the garage sideways, come in here and meet my guest tonight so we can get his story recorded. It'll shift gears, though. This always does. This podcast is a spirit-raising thing. It is a juice injection, more so than I ever thought. So full disclosure tonight, the guy sitting across the table from me asked me to sponsor him, so I did. And Toby just picked up a 8-month chip last night in our men's home group meeting. And of course he's still working on men's, but he's been through the work, and he's had that life-changing experience. And I was talking to my sponsor the other night when I was over at his house. We have a Sunday night date. And over at his house, and we were talking about that, like how just you can't put into words what this does to a person. And for those that don't know, they can't see. It is something that must be experienced. It would be like trying to tell somebody what a strawberry tastes like that's never tasted a strawberry. There's no way to describe that taste. And there's no way to describe what this does to a person's life when they do this work and practice these principles. Always got to put that thing in the caveat, because you can't, if you just do the steps and go on back to what you were doing, you'll end up back where you were at, more than likely. But Toby's here with me today, man, and I couldn't be prouder of him. And it's always it just is an honor when somebody asks you to take them through this work, and it's an honor to be able to witness what it does time after time after time after time of seeing that the proof is in the pudding, and watching people's lives transform from the bottom of the heap to to better than they ever thought it would be. So let's get started with a sobriety date. Toby, what's your sobriety date?
January 28th, 2021.
Right, so not even a year. Pull that up about a fist away from you. I didn't give you all that talk beforehand.
Okay.
So it'll go like this. You can
All
move
right.
it around, so keep it about, like I am.
Okay.
A little bit in front of you. If you want to pull it back to you, you pull it back to you. If you want to lean into it, you can lean into it.
Okay.
Try to keep it kind of pointed at you and in front of your voice. January 28th of last year. So got 4 more months to go.
Yes, sir. 4 more months.
Yeah, you scared tonight? You were nervous about this?
Yeah, I was, all day long, I was pretty good with it. And as I came over the bridge, getting closer to your house, I got a little nervous about it, definitely.
Toby spoke for the first time last week at Charlie's birthday, and he was. I know he was nervous about that. He was, of course, he had a lot of notice too. That's another thing that's kind of funny. It's like I find it easier to talk if a guy says, "Can you talk tomorrow night?" than if he says, "Can you talk a week from Wednesday?" And then I get to think about it. Of course, I just don't anymore. That's wore off somehow or another. All this talking on the podcast and talking in other things, it just got where it's not a thing. I don't have to prepare or think about what I'm going to say. My story's the same story every single time, so I don't have to figure out what I'm going to say. I already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
you can't get your whole story in behind the podium, though. You got to give some abbreviated version of it, and that's what about tonight. We can give more full story.
Yeah, it's like, you get the countdown, and I got 7 days to speak. Oh, I got 6 days to speak. And as it gets closer, the nerves get worse. I agree with you. I probably just like 1 day notice, probably.
Everybody, there's things that, there's a whole bunch of stuff that newcomers say when they get here. One of them is I don't like to talk in front of people. We had a guy say that last night. I kind of giggle about it because it's almost like they're almost cliches, that I don't like to do this, I don't like to do that, and of course all the other ones about how I'm going to have fun now that I'm not drinking and doping. But I don't know, I like talking in front of people. I enjoy it. So where'd you grow up at, man? Where was you born?
I was born in a small town in Connecticut, northeast corner of Connecticut.
I'm really glad you didn't say I was born a poor black child.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, small town in Connecticut, real close to the Massachusetts and Rhode Island border. So I have like a lot of chowderhead influences, and they say chowder heads, CHOWDA.
Yeah.
And
why you still like Boston and why you still like the Patriots?
Yeah, that's my teams, And to this day, I live with my mom, and she still has that influence on me because she still speaks that New England accent. And
I heard a little in you.
It's removed a lot, but it's
still
here. Yeah. Yeah, I've been here in Kentucky 25 years now, so it's gone a little bit.
Yeah. I always joke around, people, I go down to the convenience store down the street and people say, "Where are you from?" I'm from here. So growing up, you was born in Massachusetts, and how was that early life? What was life like as you remember it?
It didn't last long because up to about 4 or 5 years old, I was on a big jet airplane going overseas. So those recollections of growing up at an early age are.
What was you doing going overseas?
My father. Well, he got my mom pregnant, and back in the 70s, I guess the thing to do was to join the service. And as soon as he joined the service, and next thing I know, I'm flying over the ocean.
So they were married.
Yes.
They had a baby. You named her as sisters?
Yes, after he got remarried again.
Okay. Yeah. What's that? Step brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Is that what they call
half brothers?
Or half brothers.
Yeah.
That's right. Not step. And so you were born, and then he joined the military.
Yeah, right at the same time frame, within months of each other.
It was one of them. Oh shit! I got a kid coming. What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
Life?
And his hair was halfway down his shoulders. And his nickname was Trip. That was his nickname growing up. All his brothers called him Trip. And he liked to trip, so
Like
he was
like to take acid
to
trip?
take acid. He was a hippie.
Man, that's odd. That's an odd change of life course to take, but sometimes sometimes we need that 180-degree turn,
Yeah.
So you don't remember much of that, really, of flying around, or
I just remember just,
like where?
bits and pieces of it.
What I've come to find, I have some memories that I think are mine,
Yeah.
but they're not really mine. That I've heard the stories.
Yeah.
That were told, and now, but I've heard them enough times that I believe that I remember some stuff that's way too young for me to remember.
I remember being on an airplane going over there. And, just me and my mom. My dad was already over there. And they were setting up the quarters for the dependents to get over there. And
Where at?
West Germany.
Germany.
And this is, before the wall came down. 78, 79, something right around there. And the German culture was still there, big time. And we did not move onto the army base. We moved on what they call the economy. So you're with the German people. There wasn't enough housing for the dependents yet. So here I am as a little kid in the German community, right on the streets of Germany, and that culture, just watching that growing up. And here I am, an American brat. Next thing I know, I'm in this German culture. And
at that age, I don't know that you almost could say you're Americanized yet.
No.
No. You don't know what you are.
And there's a lot of pictures.
You move over when you're 7 or 8 or 9 or something like that, you'd have a little
bit
grounding under your feet from what it was like here, not, because kind of like you really don't get introduced to society until you go to school.
Yeah, and I had to go to a German-American school. So half the school was German kids and half American kids. And there was almost like a wall separating the two, just like the real wall over there. It was kind of weird. But I see pictures of it now, and my mom dressed me like a German kid.
Yeah.
She thought it was cute, the plaid clothes and the ponchos and the little hats, the German hats that they wore, the kinders.
Wanting to fit in.
Yeah. And those memories, we have grocery stores here, and we have Walmarts here. And the recollections I have there is going to the markets with my mom. And seeing, upside down rabbits hanging from the ceiling, just skinned.
Oh, yeah.
And you bought your food from the market.
I saw some fresh market stuff even into the 90s when my brother was stationed in Germany, and I went over and saw him for a couple of weeks. And so I spent a couple of weeks in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And we drove up to Amsterdam a couple of weekends. And or both weekends that I was there. But I do remember of course, I've been in a lot of places, like Thailand and those kind of places always have like food markets and stuff. But yeah, you don't see that here. But even then, the Walmarts and stuff weren't big here. Those big superstore kind of things weren't a thing yet.
No, they weren't.
Like Kmart and around here anyway.
Yeah. And they would come about every day. They would come down the streets with this food truck, almost like a food market truck. And the sides of it would pop open, and one day you bought your bread. And the next day you bought your dairy from them.
Oh, really? They had different stuff on different trucks,
stuff,
you mean?
different days.
Like today's bread day. Bread guys come by, gotta go outside.
Yep. And they had the alcohol day, because I remember my parents running out there to get the alcohol, and they had to get it that day, or it might pass them by, And they were young, My mom was...
Wait till next week.
Yeah, my mom was 18 when she had me. My dad was 19. So they're,
Yep.
They're young and in Germany.
And not even drinking age yet.
Yeah, not even drinking age yet. And they were still partying in Europe, They were still hippies at heart. And, of course, my dad had short hair, and he cleaned up his act, but this is still the 70s. And the GIs partied. And my dad partied right there with them, So... Yeah. I watched that, I really did watch that.
So what year were you born?
74.
74, okay. So it had been post-Vietnam.
Yes. Yeah, I always look back at that, grateful that my dad didn't get caught up in that, that it was just right after that. And he spent a few years in Connecticut at the base there and then shipped over to Germany, so. But, yeah, he was popular there, too, because we would always have parties. I remember the parties going on as a young kid, 5 or 6 years old. And I think that was the first time I ever had a taste of alcohol, because my parents would not let me drink soda. So I'd wake up in the morning from one of their parties, and they'd have Coke cans laying around the house. And I was like, wow, Coca-Cola. Even though it was stale, I'm going to drink me some Coca-Cola. And I got a swig of Coca-Cola and I think what I call Jim Beam or bourbon today, Oh, man, gross. It grossed me out, That was... Ugh.
Yep, I remember those first tastes. I going, ew, why is everybody drinking this?
Yeah. And not knowing then, my dad sold hash in the military as a private. I see the pictures. We still have pictures of that, He had the X-Acto knives out, and he was I guess he was a dealer in the service. And this is before Reagan came down and the war on drugs, and the GIs were partying,
I think they always did. I don't think there's any line in there because I don't know. Well, one is age. Two is to some extent a stressful situation most of the time. Whatever you're in, at one level either you're relocated or you're just outside your comfort zone. And alcohol, dope, whatever you happen to have, provides you with some comfort. Yeah, we got, and then hash was popular there in the 90s. I brought some home with me on the plane. Scared to death, man. And one of my brother's friends had a vacuum sealer, and they sealed up a few bars of it and told me to stick it under the insoles of my shoes. And, man, as soon as I walked into Frankfurt Airport to come home, I walked right by one of them dudes that had the Uzis and the German Shepherds.
The Pole's eyes.
And
the police.
They had, and it wasn't the Uzis that scared me. It was the German Shepherds that scared me. So I think some bitch, I don't want to walk too wide from them, make a show of myself. But I made it all the way home with it. I had a lot of friends for a few weeks.
Yeah, I remember seeing those pictures, and I didn't really remember him doing that, obviously. He hid it from me, but he'd always have these Coke cans folded in half, laying around the house. And those are some of my early recollections of something funny here is going on, I didn't know what it was.
We took a piece of cardboard and like a sewing needle and put a little piece of it on the end of the sewing needle, and then took like a mason jar or some kind of glass, and you'd light that up and then trap the smoke in the glass, and then you'd scoot it over to the edge of the cardboard and then suck the smoke out of the glass. They called it fez under glass.
Oh gosh.
And
I think they would melt their knives, put it on the knife and melt it with heat, and they called that hot knives or hot dipping. Huh. And when it hit the knife, it would melt and they would inhale it. Yeah.
I liked it.
And
it was a real cool buzz.
Some of the other recollections I have are living that kind of free hippie lifestyle with my mom, because my dad was always gone in the service, and she'd be home with me all the time. So it was always me and my mom, And I used to see pictures of me butthole naked in the fields in Germany, and her eyes were all glazed up, and she had her, leather vest on and her long straight hair, So it was classic. Yeah. It was really classic. And that's the environment I lived, I grew up in. And they would take me to concerts. I think my first concert with my parents was B.B. King and Eric Clapton. And this is before Eric Clapton had gray hair,
Yeah, I saw B.B. King just on my 50th birthday here in Louisville a couple years ago.
Wow.
Just a couple years ago.
Yeah. And those, early on recollections of that stuff.
There or here?
There. Yeah.
When did y'all move back out? When did you leave there?
Ooh, I was probably there till roughly 86. Yeah. I was going into 6th grade then, coming back to the States.
Because did he get moved or was it?
Yeah, he got relocated. We were there probably 7 or 8 years, and he got relocated. And see, in the military, you can pick 3 spots where you want to move to, and one of them was Connecticut. Hawaii, of course, everybody wrote Hawaii down just in case they would get that base.
Somebody does.
And and we went back to the States, in Connecticut, and that's when some trouble began with my parents, and they're fighting and things like that started. I was in 6th grade, turning into a little, puberty was hitting me a little bit, and my parents were getting divorced at the same time.
Stress at home.
Oh, yeah. A lot of fighting. My dad he would be gone for a few days, come back like nothing ever happened, and he was chasing females around, and started seeing that early on. And a couple times I had to jump out of my window a few nights to get away from it all, the stress of it all, and
just run from it. You mean
just
like,
run
not
from
because
it.
you were in danger, you just didn't want to hear it. You just wanted to get away from it.
Yeah, not real physical, just verbal. A lot of verbal abuse going on. My
A
dad.
lot of people say their parents are fighting, and I always wonder, if they're going to get to that part of the story that they were actually physical, or my parents argued a lot.
Yeah, they argued a lot of cussing and swearing and demoralizing tones. And at that point, my dad was a sergeant, first sergeant. He had some stripes on his arm at that time.
Take no shit.
He didn't take no shit. 10 hut when you walked in a room. My room was clean at 6th grade. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it helped in a lot of ways because I'm like that a lot now. But I look back at it, and there was a part where it was demoralizing. Like I said, it was just every day my dad was mad and yelling about something, And what I look back at it now is he didn't have any outlets, because at that point they were drug testing these soldiers, and he had a career going on. And
check your microphone out for just a second.
Yeah.
It looks a little hot over there. No big deal.
Yeah, and he didn't have any outlets, and looking back at it, and
he had to quit smoking dope or whatever, and that was his medication, and it, just like us, man, you take it away from us, we're worse.
Yeah, and he took it out on me and Mom, verbally. He wasn't physical. I've got a few spankings here and there, and I deserve most of them, but real verbal with me, to the point where if I blinked and I cried, he let me know about not being a man.
Yeah.
And I'm 12
I'll give
years
you
old.
something to cry about.
Yeah, I'll give you something to cry about, exactly. And but then my dad was crazy like that, because then he would go down the street and get some ice cream and bring it home like nothing ever happened, like to make it all good and all
It's
better.
the guilt and remorse cycle of our deal.
So, at that
and
point.
Jekyll and Hyde, the nicest can be 1 minute and another minute, or meaner in hell and then nicest can be.
And I had nobody to talk to about it besides my mom. I didn't have any brothers and sisters, New batch of friends again, constantly making new friends from moving around all the time. And 6th grade, here I am, coming into my own a little bit, and I started meeting new people, and next thing you know, I'm starting to do the same things he was doing,
Smoking pot, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember how that come about? I remember my first time.
Yeah, I remember it well. There was a guy at this little neighborhood park. His name was Two Finger Willie, and he was a Vietnam vet. I don't know if he was homeless. I don't know what he was exactly, but I know we called him Two Finger Willie.
He appear homeless?
Yes, he did. He looked homeless, and he had 2 fingers on each hand.
Left.
Yeah, left, like a lobster claw thing. And he would sit there on the park bench and roll joints. And I don't know if he loved the camaraderie of us going over there, hanging out with him, talking to him. Next thing you know, Two Finger Willie and he would slobber all over it. I'll never forget that. And I didn't even want to smoke that. I didn't know what to do, Next thing I know, he's like, try this. And I tried it. And, they say you don't really feel anything the first time.
Some people.
I think I felt it immediately. And it was within 30 minutes I had to go home and face my mom like nothing ever happened, and she knew immediately. So within 1 hour of me smoking a joint, I was already getting in trouble for the first time.
Yeah. Today I wonder if she didn't smell it. Because it's one thing to be like, the toasted eyes are evident enough, but like the proof positive is when you get the whiff. And I smell people all the time nowadays here. You go every place you go, smell it coming out of cars, going down the road. You smell it, the dude in front of the line in front of you at the gas station, in the grocery store.
Yeah. They call that smelling loud.
Is that what it
Yeah.
is?
Oh man, you smell loud over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the term they use now.
So what did she do when she caught you?
She broke down. She was upset. You know, she didn't come after me with a punishment. Looking back at it, I could tell that she probably felt some remorse about it, you know.
Was Dad not at home at this point?
No, at this point they were divorced. You know, single mother.
Yep.
And Dad was still chasing women around. I didn't see him much at all at first. And of course, that didn't deter me how she felt, you know. And it wasn't an everyday thing at that point. And then, you know, a couple of days later, we were at the park again, and there's Two Finger Willie, and then I could tell I started searching out for Two Finger Willie. Where's Two Finger Willie at? Where's he at?
Let's go to the park.
Yeah, let's go to the park.
I'm gonna go hang out at the park.
And
I remember doing some of that where I'd run into somebody like that and get lucky or whatever, and I would go back to those same places thinking maybe it would happen again. Like, you know, it was just a total fluke. One of my guesses about why a lot of people say they don't feel anything the first time smoking pot is because it's almost like something you had to learn how to do, you know. Like, we know how to drink and swallow, right?
yeah,
But if you haven't never smoked anything and you get asked to smoke something, you just don't even know how to.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I didn't get high the first time. I didn't know how to inhale. And you were going to say, how do I do this? You know, you just kind of watch the guy next to you and what he does. And
yeah. At that point, I was
make
smoking
noise.
Yeah, make the noise, right? Yeah. At that point, I was starting to smoke cigarettes too. So
Right.
there was some knowledge of knowing how to inhale smoke. There was, you know, coming out of your nose with it, feeling that feeling of, you know, and
I don't know if I'd smoked a cigarette by then or not. It was pretty close, but I don't think so. I think I got offered a joint first.
yeah, I think I smoked first. Yeah.
My mama smoked all the time and tried to hide it and stuff. And, my first cigarettes I took from her.
Yeah, me
I
too.
caught one of the first times I smoked a cigarette. I got it out. I lived here and got it, come out and went down the alley here, smoked a cigarette. When I come back in, so I got the cigarette smoking talk. I didn't get any trouble, but I got warned about the evils of smoking cigarettes.
My mom did laundry, and she found the tobacco particles in the corner of my pocket. And when she pulled my pocket out to do laundry, to check for whatever bubblegum wrappers, you know, there's the tobacco, and that's how I got caught smoking. Yeah. But that didn't deter me either, you know. And my mom wasn't the yeller. My dad was, you know. So it was always the softer way dealing with mom, you know. And that went on for probably 2 years. And, of course, my first drunk was during that time, the first bottle of Peachtree Schnapps that I'll never forget. And I'll never forget that moment.
It really does make my stomach turn today. I do recoil like we would from a hot flame whenever especially if you name something like specific like that.
I almost taste it. And to this day, I don't eat peaches. I mean, I've had them, but they're
I don't like peaches.
They're not my fruit of choice.
I love peaches.
Yeah, they're not my fruit of choice. And I remember saying, I don't like that alcohol, you know. The pot is the one for me. Even then, you know, that was the easier way for me. And I remember walking to school, 6th grade, walking to school and getting sent to the principal's office because I looked high. And I was like, I just drank a bunch of caffeine. I'm not a high, you know, just some caffeine. And the principal bought it. I'm sure he didn't. But
you got called to task anyway, you know. It doesn't matter if he bought it or not. In the back of you got the lesson that said, you ain't supposed to do this.
Yeah. And because of the lack of punishment, I caught myself, you know, at that point, I was trying to get little sacks here or there, stealing money from my mom's little wallet and walking to school every day smoking weed, 6th grade, leading into 7th grade. I was cool, you know. I was cool. And my dad, at that time, got remarried real fast. And for the better of him, because he became a good dad again, proving himself to his new wife. Like, look how I can really be. I have this son. Next thing I know, I'm seeing Dad every weekend. We're skiing. We're going to amusement parks. We're going to movies now. I mean, the time of my life, you know. And on the weekends, I couldn't smoke pot because I was with my dad. And, you know, my dad was the authoritarian. And I knew if he caught me
they're
that
gonna
way.
be crossing that line.
Yeah. After that, I mean, that kind of went on for a few years, and he got stationed in Maryland, the state of Maryland, as I was approaching high school.
But while y'all were in Connecticut,
Yeah.
or Massachusetts,
Connecticut.
Connecticut. I said Massachusetts earlier.
Yeah, it's all right.
Connecticut.
And
It's
so
all the same to me.
my dad decided my mom basically gave him to me at that point, knowing that I was hanging out with the wrong kids. I'm sure they had some back conversations with each other that I didn't know about. So my dad had some inkling of what was going on.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'm in Maryland, the state of Maryland, and that's where I went to high school at. And I had a time of my life in high school. Oh, man.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, time of my life.
I mean, I had a great time, but high school sucked for this dude.
Oh, I loved it.
The stuff that we did outside high school was fun, but I didn't like school at all.
Well, I played football. So, and it's funny because my freshman year I didn't play much. New group of people again. These kids had, small town in Maryland, these kids had played together their whole life. And here I am, the new kid on the block again. Had to
Did they
prove
have a
myself.
freshman team? Or
Yeah, we had a freshman team. I didn't even get
You
to play.
still didn't even play?
Nope.
Oh,
this
man,
was,
you
this was
suck.
I sucked. Yeah, this was football country. You know, this is Dan Marino's were from, and and it was big time
I
football.
don't think that at all.
Yeah, it was.
If you would say football country, I'd think Texas.
Yeah, nowadays it was. But that
Alabama,
Pittsburgh area, it was like right below Pittsburgh in
yeah.
the skinny part of Maryland. It was football country. And I remember my dad kind of supporting it, not really. But I remember my junior year that summer, he said, "What are you going to do, man? Sit the bench again?" He kind of gave me that talk. And for the, besides the work that I do now with the recovery, it was like the first time that I had a come to Jesus moment. Like, am I going to sit the bench and, am I embarrassing my dad? What, and something snapped in me and I got good real fast. I remember the first summer practice, I hit the quarterback. You're not supposed to touch the quarterback, right? Well, I hit the quarterback in practice and the coach rewarding me for it.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Like, this is what we need.
The fact of the matter is whether if you got good, that's not really what happened. You started placing effort towards it.
Definitely, yeah. But I was always still smoking weed,
Yep.
I could get by on my physical ability because, I was still freshly a pothead, so to speak. And if I did mess up in practice, my buddies knew that, oh, he's a pothead. That's why he did that wrong. I always caught that in the locker room afterwards, if they had to run extra laps because I pulled the wrong way on the line or something. It was because he's a pothead. And I'd go to, after practice, meet another guy. He wasn't even a football player. I'd go over to his house and his dad would smoke pot with us. 17 years old, Next thing I know, I'm smoking weed every day before school, after football practice, and that was
we had open campus here when we did before school, at lunch, and after school.
at lunch.
Yeah, we had open campus. We could go to McDonald's or go walk around the streets, and
Oh, wow.
you could walk over and buy a joint from Two Fingered Eddie down the street that lived down the street from high school and burn it and get back to school on time.
Yeah.
And you might even go stop by one of them little quickie stores like they used to have before there was these convenient Speedways and Circle K's on every corner.
Yep, the corner
We had
store.
those little family-owned markets that the people lived in the house.
Yep.
They lived in the building that was the store.
Yep. They sell beer out the back door.
No, these were just like you go there and get some Twinkies and a Coke, man.
Okay.
They were real little,
Yeah.
just little grocery store markets. They didn't sell beer or nothing.
They call them corner stores.
No.
No.
I don't know what we called them. I can think of Brewers Market was down there. Nidafers was over here. And I could take you to a handful of those little markets today where we used to walk from school. And because, like I said, we always had open campus. You could leave the campus at lunchtime, even in junior high.
No, they wouldn't let us leave.
Yeah, they should. That's smart.
Yeah. they
Now,
wouldn't
looking
let us
back,
leave. Yeah.
but yeah, so what happened with high school?
Well, I graduated. I got decent grades, no A's and B's, B's and C's. I got by, we ended up winning state championship my senior year.
Cool.
And at that point, I could pretty much hand in my books to the teachers at that point. We won state championship. That's all that mattered in this town was the football.
Graduate.
And I was pretty much done with school at that point, come January 1st of my senior year.
Yeah.
It was just floating by till time to graduate. And it wasn't 2 weeks later after I graduated high school, my dad got stationed in Kentucky. And I had choices to make. Go back home to Connecticut. At that time, she moved to the Hartford area, so it's a city area now.
Yeah.
And or move to Kentucky. And I'm not moving to Kentucky. Hell no.
Where did you get sent to?
Fort Knox.
Fort Knox. Okay.
Yeah, that's the roots of me getting here. And so I went back to Connecticut. That's where I'm from. And once again, I was a new kid on the block again. And we've talked about this before.
Going to a different store, going back to a different town in the same state is not a lot different than moving to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And if you move back to Indiana and you go to Indianapolis, it wouldn't be going home.
Yep. So it was meeting a whole new group of friends again, and fitting in all the time, and I had to go find my pot too, because I don't know who to get pot now from. It was one on the list of things I need to figure out, and of course it didn't take long.
Yeah, it's funny. It don't take long.
No, I started working at a little grocery store and went to a community college, and President Clinton was running for his first election, and that was my first time I got to vote, and just the time frame.
Yeah.
Clinton was starting his presidency, 92, I believe it was. And started working in this little grocery store, and there were some pretty young girls in there. They liked the Grateful Dead, and next thing I know, I was hanging out with them, smoking pot every day with them, and testing the waters with other things. And music was becoming important to me at that point, really important to me. It was like a getaway. I didn't know a lot of people. I knew a little group. We'd hang out. And we'd watch Seinfeld on Thursday nights, listen to Grateful Dead, smoke doobies. And I remember a girl bringing some pills one night. And next thing you know, we're snorting those, we're crushing them up and snorting extra strength Vicodin or something. I don't even remember what they were, And, I like this. And the beer was always in my hand. That was like a sidebar for me. There was always a beer around. It was
beer. I drank beer like it was water.
Yeah, it was just a social thing, just to have the beer with you in between whatever else you were doing.
Yeah, if it was a Coke or a Big Red or a bottle of water, no, I'll take a beer.
Yeah, take a beer. And at that point, my mom was working 2 jobs because Connecticut, the Northeast, it's hard to live there. It's expensive. She was working 2 jobs. There was no accountability with anything. I come and go as I please. Of course, I'm a man. I'm 18, so I'm a man.
You're an adult now.
Yeah, so, and it got to the point where me and her became closer friends, so she didn't condone it anymore. I started smoking pot with my mom, and listening to music with my mom late at night.
Condone would mean she let you.
Yeah.
So
she let me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
It's okay, man. This ain't...
But
all the shit I say wrong.
That went on for about 3 or 4 years, and I kept experimenting with other things. Of course, at that time, I started going to Grateful Dead shows, and that life was out of control. I loved it so much. Got to travel around the country.
Yep.
And the whole Volkswagen bus thing started coming for me, and I remember getting my first bus. It blew like smoke out the back, and I didn't care. I had a rusty bus and girls in it. I was cool, And then I started experimenting with LSD a lot too, and mushrooms, and reaching the ends of things and thinking I could fly across coliseums and football stadiums that some of them don't even exist anymore. Start to feel a little old when you see the stadiums getting torn down that used to do acid in, and
Yep, going to concerts on acid was one of my favorite things. The problem was the concerts don't last long enough. The trip's going to be a while, and we got 2-3 hours here we're going to burn during it. But next, what do we do next?
Well, they always told me to drink a lot of alcohol while you're tripping. So at the end of the trip, you would pass out from the alcohol intoxication.
Yeah.
And that kind of worked.
Sometimes.
It'd be, the end of the show. I might
drink myself out of the trip so I could pass out and sleep.
Yep. And that went on for a few good years until I met Mr. Heroin, and I started sniffing heroin. And
did it come along through the dead stuff?
yes, definitely. Jerry Garcia was doing heroin.
Yeah.
So the cult fascination of it all was like, whatever Jerry's doing, we're going to do.
It all popped up here, since the pill crackdown and all that kind of stuff. But from my understanding now, heroin's always been around. Heroin's been around almost as long as alcohol's been around. It just matters what they're calling it and stuff. Somebody said the other day when they talk about the opium dens in China and places like that, they're really talking about heroin.
Heroin, yeah.
And I think of opium as something totally different. My mind does. Opium is something completely different than that. But yeah, now we didn't see it. I didn't see, nobody I knew was doing heroin when I was drugging and doping and drugging and doing all that stuff. And even if it was ever, and this is just my recollection, is that it had the rap of, like the serious junkies, we're just getting high and having a good time here. We're not. I don't even know. It may. I don't know, man. I'd take about anything anybody would give me. But there's been a real good chance of my contempt prior to investigation on heroin. I might have said no to that back then.
Yeah, we grew up. The AIDS epidemic was rampant, and IV drug users were using it.
I didn't know you could snort it until I came to sobriety.
Yeah,
I really didn't.
Yeah.
When not sober, but when I come to AA first time, because I started, when I first come in recovery, I met a whole lot of different kind of people that I didn't know before then.
But yeah, I started snorting it too, going to shows, getting high in the bathrooms, set breaks of concerts, and it just got worse and progressive, and
it just sweeps you away. It's like like when one of that movie Requiem for a Dream, or any of the movies where all of a sudden goes into a spin. The camera spins out of a scene. I have a lot of recollections of that. That seemed like what a big chunk of my life was from about 20 to 30. Just a spinning camera.
You're right. And the first time I ever did it, I sat there and I puked all night and spun.
Oh, did you?
Didn't like it. My body was trying to reject it.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? What are you putting in me? Let's get it out of me.
Well, anytime it's rarely really that we have a good time the first time. The first time you smoke a cigarette, you're coughing and hacking, and that's your body saying, "Hey, man, don't do that."
Yep.
The same thing with pot.
Yeah.
First time I drank, I got so drunk I threw up all over the place. It was horrible. That was a sign.
Yeah. But of course, the next day somebody offered some to me, and I was like, I'll just take a little bit. And so I just took a little bit the next time, and it was quite enjoyable that time.
Learn to moderate, man.
Yeah. And
do you want a bottle of water?
Yeah, sure. And next thing I know, let's try this other way.
What's the other way?
Shooting it. So that progressed into me going into bad neighborhoods, downtown Hartford, Connecticut, and by the time I was on the interstate, I'm drawing it up in the top of a water bottle cap, drawing it up with a cigarette filter, stirring it up, tying off on the interstate, going 70 miles per hour.
Driving down the road.
And shooting up at the same time, going 70 miles per hour, driving down the road. Traffic everywhere. It's like driving down the Waterson or something.
Yeah.
And nothing could harm me, And that swept me off my feet because I started getting to the low ends of stealing. Not breaking into cars, just stealing from friends, stealing from my mom. She worked her ass off. Next thing I know, I'm in her purse every day,
Yeah.
stealing $10, $10. All her spoons in her kitchen were all bent up. And she started realizing what was going on. And, I was a cool, I was a cool friend, so I would go get it half the time and somebody would buy it. But if you fly, I buy, I'll buy if you fly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd fly and get it. Take that risk, the white boy in the ghetto,
Yeah.
copping heroin and bringing it back. I remember bringing it back to one time, and I told my buddy, well, you choose which one you want, you paid for it. Now, he chose the wrong one.
So you had like 2 bags?
2 bags.
2 separate bags.
2 separate bags, little $10 bags, and he chose
Same
the wrong.
dealer, just give me 2.
Yeah, just give me 2. And he chose the wrong one. And I looked over at him, and his face turned blue, and I saw every blood vessel in his cheeks. It was like a movie.
Get translucent.
Yeah, it was like it wasn't real. I just thought he was nodding out for a minute, real high, and no, he wasn't. He stopped breathing, and At that point, I had decisions to make. What do I do? Run? I wanted to run, and I called 911, and it was like that Pulp Fiction movie. The ambulance came, and they came rushing over, and I don't know where they injected him at. Not in his heart, like the movie.
But they gave him something.
They gave him something, and he woke up almost immediately. And I remember the paramedics were there saying, you need to go home. You need to go home. And that was about the only thing that happened at that point, and he survived it. About a month later, he died.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And that was the turning point for me with that drug. And I didn't know what to do, where to turn.
And that's before the days of like today when that happens. Most people suspect it's been fiddled with, like fentanyls in it and that kind of thing. That's the common thing today. But back then, and I don't know that wouldn't be true, but I think it was just a plain old-fashioned overdose back then, huh?
Well, what they said was like, this is just street stuff. Like 1 out of every 1,000 bags was an overdose bag. They did it on purpose.
Oh, really?
So people would know that was the good stuff.
Ah.
So that's the sickness of it all,
Yeah, I've heard that thing about like somebody over ODs in the drug community wants to know where you got it.
Yeah.
Because that's the good stuff.
That's the good stuff. So, watching that really shook me up. And I knew at that point I knew the powerlessness of it all, really. Before I knew anything about the step work, I just knew, I was going to die too. It just a matter of when.
Yeah.
And then,
Were you doing enough of it that if you didn't do it, you'd be dope sick and all that?
Oh, yeah. I was probably up to $60, $80 a day, give or take. And it all came down on me at once because probably two weeks later after his death, Jerry Garcia died. 95. I got that phone call from one of my hippie girlfriends, and Jerry died.
Dead.
Yeah. And about 2 weeks after that, I went to the ghetto and got some more, and the policeman was waiting for me, and I got arrested for the first time.
What, they had a sting kind of thing going on? Where
Yeah,
you'd
everybody had
have to buy from
pagers,
somebody
the pagers, and I paged the guy. I guess the cop had his pager, so I thought I was going to go see the dealer, and I went and saw the detective or the undercover, and
well, they do that probably, work a deal with the dealer and say, hey, you're up shit creek, but if you'll let us catch some people, we'll go a lot easier on you.
But I was just a user, so why do they want little me?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense from that standpoint. No. But they do that.
Yeah, and I got charged with a felony felony attempt to possess narcotics was my charge. So,
why would it be a felony?
I guess because it was a narcotic.
I know, but it might be. I might not.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. In my story, I didn't know that either. So I went to a 30-day inpatient rehab. My dad came from Kentucky, dressed in his military blues, stripes everywhere. At this point, he's pushing 20 years military, sergeant major now. He's starting to turn a little gray haired, and
He had to come down and take care of little Toby.
yeah, and he broke down when he came and saw me. Look what my son's become. Where did I go wrong as a dad? I remember that. I got out of the hospital, got in front of the judge. The judge says, "Get his ass out of this state." And I woke up in Kentucky for the first time. And that was
I heard those stories too. I had friends who got in enough trouble that they just kicked him someplace else. I don't know if that's, and I don't know that to be true, right? That's the story behind it. That the judge told me I could either move in with my mom in California, or if I stay here, it's going to be trouble.
Yeah, and I thought that was like a clean break, Oh, I'm getting out of this trouble, I guess I pled guilty to the judge. I don't even remember. I was so, sick.
We don't know what we're doing.
I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't have a lawyer. My dad he was the lawyer. My dad was, in his dress blues. He was the lawyer. And I woke up in Henry County, Kentucky, in the middle of tobacco fields, going, "What the hell did I do? What am I doing here?" And things got better.
Because you quit the heroin. You went to
quit the
treatment
heroin.
and you stopped.
Yeah, the physical.
Never did do it again.
Nope. Haven't done it since. I mean, I have taken some tabs here or there, tabs, pain pills and stuff. But as far as shooting dope, nope. 26 years and some change, give or take. And but we've talked about this before. And I remember going to a CVS or a local mom and pop in Henry County and buying some needles. So I was clean from the heroin, but the physical urges were still there. And I started shooting water in my veins. I'd go there because everybody had cattle, right? So you could get syringes for your animals, for your horses and shit. So I'd go in there like I knew what I was talking about, I'd get some 30cc insulin syringes, or I don't even remember the stories I was making up to get them. Yeah, I shot water in my veins for about a month. And that needle fixation was there.
Just it hydrated you.
Yep. It did. I think you get a little warm fuzzy rush for 10 seconds, and that was it, and that was gone.
Placebo kind of thing going on.
Yeah, placebo, totally placebo effect.
It's like when there's addicts see somebody shooting up or something, or even talk about it and stuff like that. Man, it flips them out.
And that kind of wore off. Thank God, it wore off, and it faded away. And I thought I was clean from that shit. But
my sponsor and I were talking, and he went to a class not long ago because he gets to do continuing education hours, and they're doing a lot of study in what like that opiate use does to you. Like it fucks your brain up. I mean, like you can't. It's like if they say even if somebody's like on pain pills for 30 days, it rewires some stuff that is not coming back unwired. And I don't know, it just dawned on me as you were saying, you were able to stop, but the rewiring process probably had already happened.
Yeah.
And you had some kind of consequence thing that was keeping you from doing it again for whatever reason, whether it was living with dad or just knew you didn't want to go back there again.
I didn't want to go down those roads. I thought that was going to be the end of my story, and that was.
See some people dying, and your idol dies.
Yeah. And then I get arrested and have a felony charge on my record, which I didn't know. I thought it was all like taken care of because I moved to Kentucky. And so my dad, he retired military and got a job at Ford. Military guys got preferential hiring right into Ford, And I started working there as a temp. And started meeting people again, And good old Kentucky, I got some good marijuana down here, and next thing I know, I'm smoking weed every day again. And
but at least I ain't doing heroin.
At least I'm not doing heroin, and I stuck to those guns too. Oh yeah, I used to do heroin. Oh, I used to be an addict.
You were still singing that song when you met me.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
you were.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Patting
really.
yourself on the back because you. And I'm not to say it's not something to be proud of, no doubt, but it's just this cunning, baffling. I'm just smoking pot.
Yeah, and that went on for years, just smoking weed, to the point where I started meeting people that grew it. I could make a little side money doing this too, support my weed habit. My dad just retired from the military, And he stayed here. He loved Kentucky, so he stuck around. And next thing I know, me and my dad are smoking pot together. My military dad, his hippie ways came back out. You know, his addiction cycle came out, and
Was that Tyler Childers song about working someplace and he had to stop smoking? Well, he worked at the railroad, but as soon as he gets railroad, he's going to smoke himself to China.
yeah. And, you know, he had that fat retirement check coming in, you know, a couple grand a month, retirement, working at Ford. He had a 10-acre lot out in the country, and he wasn't no farmer, you know. He just cut his grass on his lawnmower. And
That's a good gig, man. People really pull that military retirement thing and then go get a real job, and seem to do pretty well.
He was starting to double dip because he
Yeah.
started getting some years at Ford at that point too.
Yeah.
You know, he was looking forward to a double dip type retirement.
Yep.
And I started selling weed, and next thing you know, I'm selling my dad weed, and it became like every other day thing. My dad was smoking like, you know, quarter bag every other day. Like, damn, Dad, slow down a little bit. You know, you're getting a little older now, so it's time to slow down. Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about me. Just give me some smoke. You know.
Dad, I ain't buying you none today. You've had enough.
And then we worked together at Ford. I finally got hired on at Ford. And it was like we worked the same shift. We worked the same lines together. We were going out at lunch every day, me and my dad smoking weed in his truck. And it was just like, this ain't a bad gig. I'm in Kentucky. This is pretty cool, actually, you know. And
Yep.
wasn't a bad deal. And that went on for years. Never got in trouble for it. And I started buying more and more, not really to support my habit, to support my pocket. Because I saw money. Wow, I got all this money now. I work at Ford, making this big check a week, and I'm slinging weed everywhere, you know, to the guys at Ford. You know, every payday they were hitting me up, you know.
Yeah, I know. I was a terrible drug dealer.
And that went on for 15 years. I mean, I never wanted for anything, you know. I always did pretty well, you know. Not till just recently, too. 8 months ago, I did pretty well. And then my dad got sick. And, you know, it happened so fast with me because we became like best friends at that point. You know, we were like brothers at that point. The military was gone from his life, and it's like I had the dad I never had before. I could talk to him. We talked about girls and women, and I met a young lady that he didn't care for too much because he knew what she was all about. She was kind of a gold digger a little bit. And we had a couple kids together, and he got sick. You know, he got cancer, and
When was that?
2014, 2015.
Okay.
And I feel like he was keeping it from us because, like, right after the holidays, he announced he had cancer. And I could see some effects of it. He was losing weight, you know, and he was always in good shape, too. My dad was always in great shape. And his muscle tone started fading away a little bit. And I used to kid him, like, look, you're getting old, Dad. Look, your biceps aren't what they used to be. And little probably did I know then that the cancer was starting to take its toll on him.
And I don't know, us dudes, we won't go to the doctor about nothing, you know, so it's already got a good hold before we even know what we got.
Yeah, when he announced to the family he had stage 4 cancer, and there was really not much they could do.
What kind of cancer was it?
Esophageal cancer. So, you know, to this day, I mean, even today, I still have some doubts whether or not, you know, that I caused that or helped cause that. Selling my dad weed, you know, all those carcinogens in it. And
We all have our choices, man.
yeah, you know, but it's just like,
You might have played a part, but,
Yeah,
you know, if
yeah.
it wasn't you, it'd been somebody else. He was going to smoke his pot if he's getting it from you or getting it from somebody else.
Yeah. And
Did he smoke cigarettes?
yeah, he did. Yeah. And he faded
Big chance
fast.
that was more likely the culprit. Did he drink?
Nope. Occasionally, he's a social drinker.
Yeah.
Kentucky
The alcohol
Derby.
do the esophagus deal too, and I don't really know about the cancer part of it, but it'll. I hear about these people having these esophageal hemorrhages and stuff where they blood vessels go bad in there. And
Well, so he was getting real bad acid reflux. The little flap there in your stomach was fading away, and the acid was eroding his esophagus and making it susceptible to diseases, you know.
Yep.
And that's when the cancer latched on.
Yeah, and now they say some of the medicines that were used to prevent that might be causing cancer too.
Oh man, like the Tums and
But
Rolaids.
no, more like and I don't remember which one, and I don't want to necessarily say the wrong one and have some kind of shit here by accident, but like the Protonics and the Zantac and them kind of things. And I don't think it's either one of those.
Yeah.
But one of those pills you take once a day.
Yeah.
I take a once a day anti-reflux thing.
Huh.
And I thought, and it may still be, it might be damage that's done, One of the reasons I did is because I dipped for so long, man, and dip will give you heartburn, and a pill will keep you from getting heartburn.
That's
And
right.
I keep on dipping.
So you go back and forth with
But
it.
I've actually, I forgot to take my medicine with me when I went to the cabin this past weekend. And I had a little semi-panic attack for a minute. And I thought, the only thing I take is that heartburn pill, dummy.
Yeah.
I mean, I take a bunch. I take magnesium. I take vitamin C, vitamin D. I take a bunch of pills every morning. But there's only one of them is prescription medication.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, hell, I almost was going to come home and get them.
Mm-hmm.
But I did notice that the heartburn reared back up on me, and just in 2 days of not having that medicine.
Wow. Yeah, I work in the kitchen now, and when I have heartburn, it takes baking soda,
Yeah.
and it kind of helps that, a little teaspoon
Yep,
of that,
yep, yep.
kind of settles it a little bit.
Well, it's old
Or some milk, right?
homeogenic or whatever,
Yeah, homeopathic, yeah.
So your dad got sick, and
Yeah, I was married, and he didn't like her too well, and I thought I met the girl of my dreams, beautiful blonde girl, probably the prettiest girl I've ever dated in my life and married. And for a while there, we were very blissful, and then things started getting ugly with us, and my dad passed. And I remember on his deathbed, so to speak, he told me, whatever you do, get rid of that girl, get away from that girl. And at that time, I had two little ones, and but he passed away, and he was telling me that on his deathbed. And sure enough, about a year later, after his passing, me and her got divorced. And I just felt, I was just losing people left and right. I lost my family. I lost my dad. My godfather passed away, and my dad's brother. My grandmother passed away. And I was living in my car for about a month in between apartments, and she wouldn't let me see the kids, and things just started spiraling a little more, and I started doing Adderall to keep up with life. I got introduced to Adderall. And at first it was just to take a couple to keep you going.
street drug kind of Adderall. I mean,
Yeah.
like getting it from somebody like that.
Yeah, somebody that had a prescription because they needed it. But they were low on rent that month, so they'd
Yeah.
sell half their prescription. And I was like, wow, I like this, It was different than the heroin feeling. It was a more uppity feeling, but it was the same kind of effect where I could get things accomplished.
Yeah.
I walked a little bit taller.
It's a miracle drug.
Yeah. My house was clean. And I was still working at Ford, and I got a little apartment, and things were just all right for a couple months. And the progression of the Adderall was faster than any drug I've ever used, because it turned into maybe one a day to, next thing I know, I'm 3 or 4 or 5 a day to keep going. And I started losing a lot of weight, and
Yeah, you're not eating.
not eating, not sleeping. I'd stay up 3 or 4 days in a row, and I liked it. I like staying up.
Taking another pill, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Man, I should go to bed, but instead I'll take another one.
Yeah. And I was working a crazy third shift at Ford, so you work 2 days nights and 2 days days. So
You can catch up in a couple days.
Yeah. Yeah. On my off days, I go to sleep, but I never did. And,
Yeah.
and the aggression with that drug, I was very aggressive, yelling at my kids all the time, snapping at people, snapping at my mom. Very short wick. And I remember my boss telling me something to do that day, and I snapped at him a little bit too much.
Who are you to be telling me what to do?
Yeah.
You're my boss.
I'm in the union, right? UAW,
Yeah.
and I can do what I want. I've been here 17 years, I'll do whatever the hell I want. And, I started snapping at him, and I think I snapped hard one too many times. Yeah. And he said, you smell like weed. Of course, I was smoking the whole time.
Right. Adderall and weed.
Adderall and weed. And
because the weed that takes a slow motion puts me in slow motion. It's been a long time since I smoked any weed, but that's why I stopped, was because it was having the opposite effect on me, man. I needed more energy, not less.
Yeah.
Kids and other kinds of shit, and progressing through a job that I was needing to concentrate on. And I was like, if I did figure out that the weed was not working in my favor for doing that kind of stuff. All I wanted to do is sit on the couch and eat Cheetos.
Yeah, right. And, he brought me up to the medical department at work, and they had me drug tested, and
bing, bing, bing.
That was it. And
how did that go because I went through a drug testing thing at work once when I didn't have any idea what that meant. You know what I mean? I was, we built the boilers down at LG&E's Cane Run station, and that was the closest one of our boilers. The next closest one is in Terre Haute.
Okay.
And then all over the world, man. You had to go a long way. So we had this opportunity where we had people working on building this thing and drawing it and designing it and things, and they had never seen one, And we had this one right down here down the road. So they was going to get, I was a manager at that point, and they were going to, we were going to go down there, and they were going to safety test, 2-day-long safety test for the managers, for certain people. And then that way I could take people down to the job site and give them tours and stuff and not have to be escorted and stuff if you had the safety training. And I go through 2 days of safety training, and they go, all right, last thing is, and they had like 2 or 3 booths, and these go piss.
Yep.
In this cup. And I was like, oh, you should save me a couple days. But I didn't really hit me like that. Like looking back, I joke around about it hit me like that. I just went and pissed in the cup, man, and went on with my day. Like I didn't have anything to worry about. I was loaded up with opiates. And I get a phone call from somebody, and they go, yeah, this is so-and-so with the lab. Yeah, huh? He says, we found from that urinalysis or whatever, we found you had some codeine in your system. Is what they had. And he said, do you have a prescription for that? And nope. He goes, okay, that's all I need to know.
Ooh.
And then a day later, Human Resources walks in and shuts my door, because I'm in the office now managing. Shuts my door, and I remember saying to her, I'm in trouble, ain't I? And she said, no. And she said, so you get the pharmacy call you, yeah. You have a prescription for that? And I was like, no, I don't. And he said, well, how'd you get it? And I said, well, I've got friends that have that kind of thing.
Yep.
I just took a couple the other night. A buddy of mine, my back was hurting, and a buddy of mine had some, so he gave me a couple of them. And she goes, okay. And she just left. Human Resources. And then the next day, my boss called me into his office and sat down with that same line, you have a prescription for that?
Yeah.
Nope. Gave him the same line of bullshit about just took a couple the night before. And he said, well, thing is, you had 10 times the recommended dosage in your system. And that's the first time I ever knew that they could actually, I thought it was a red light, green light thing, No, it wasn't like how much is in your system.
Test the levels of it, yeah.
So that's why, and I was caught off guard with all that, when I thought, well, I'm not going to get in any trouble for this. But I ended up getting suspended from work for 30 days. And it was this time of year. It was October. And I was happy. It's deer season, man. And that's how I come home and packed up my hunting gear, and I went to the cabin, man. And I went down, and back then, cell phones weren't. I wasn't as attached to my cell phone as I am now.
Yeah.
And so I didn't come up out there and check my cell phone. You had to go further to get it to check it too. You had to drive all the way out to what we call the grassy fields to check your phone. And I was in there for like 3 days or something, 3 or 4 days. And I drove into town just to get ice or something. And I had a voicemail from work saying, it was like 2 days ago, saying I need to go in and get a piss test. And I was like, and then there was another voicemail, but the first one was 2 days ago. And so I'm sorry, I just told the truth. I'm sorry. I said, I'm down at my cabin. I said, well, I don't cell service or anything down here. And I said, I had to drive out to get cell service, and I just haven't done it. And she goes, what, are you on vacation or something?
Ooh.
And I'm thinking, well, I didn't think I'm on home incarceration. I was suspended from work for 30 days. There wasn't no guidelines that said what I could and couldn't do. But then I started figuring out about that too. And so that's my point. It was a whole new experience for me going down this path of this. So when they come in and drug test you, because you pee in a cup, right?
Yeah. So
then you walk off.
Well, he came up on a golf cart, and I was in a union, so I knew kind of the union way of things go. If you surrender at that point before they drug test you, chances are you can get some help and keep your job.
Okay, so he come up on the golf cart to tell you need to be piss tested.
Yes.
Okay.
And now they have a huge medical department.
Right, so y'all had the little spat.
Yeah.
He went away.
And
then he comes back.
Come back with the golf cart. And it's 5 minutes before the end of the day. And at Ford, when that whistle blows, that's the end of the day. So he had 5 minutes to do what he needed to do. And he came up with the golf cart, and he said, get on, we're going to medical, you're going to get drug tested. So my addict mind was like, well, I'm going to surrender right now.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
I have a problem. Immediately, I have a problem. And he said, well, I'll let them sort it out. Because at that point, it's human resources. I peed in my cup.
And he can't do nothing about that anyway. It ain't his deal.
Yeah. So I peed in my cup, and I was considered fired at that point. I wasn't really sure what the deal was.
So, but is it an instant test kind of thing?
Yeah, they have a lab there, and they boom. Okay. But they also send it away to make sure it's at a legitimate
That's the same
place.
thing what happened with mine. They did a quick test on it, and once it's hot, they send it out to see what's up for real with it.
And you get those levels back.
I think the first one was like a green light, red light thing.
Yeah,
and then when they send it out there, they tell you, well, you got X many milligrams per milliliter of fluid in your body or whatever.
They wouldn't let me drive home that day because they didn't want to be liable.
Oh, yeah?
They called it a taxi cab. But here's the crazy part. My car is at the plant. My Adderall is in my car. Now they're going to taxi cab me out of here. How am I going to get to my car?
Yeah, hold on a minute. This is not working.
Yeah. So I said, what about my personal stuff? My keys are over there. I was thinking of anything I could do to get to my
house keys are in the car.
How do I get in my car? And I got to my car.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
I would too.
And
they'd have to let me do that.
Yeah, I got my stuff back too. And got in the cab and drove away from Ford. Tears coming down my eyes. I knew something was going on here. The
jig was up.
Yeah, it was over. The union told me, well, you need to get some help, and that's going to look good. And we're going to file a grievance, and that's going to look good. And we're going to try to get your job back.
Yeah. That's when I'm going to do that thing when I had those pieces in my life where I'm going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I mean, it's a cornered feeling that I really don't know what to do. Anybody give me advice like that, man, I'm eating it up.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. So I went home that night, and there's my high school boy in the living room, and what are you doing home so early? And I got tears rolling down my face at that point.
But you weren't that early. If it was 5 minutes before the end of the day.
Yeah, but it was earlier than that. Maybe he just didn't know the shift times or whatever because we did 2 days, 2 nights.
He said it nonetheless.
He said it. He knew something was weird.
Yeah.
And what's wrong kind of, expression. It's very vague exactly what happened. But I do remember surrendering to him at that moment. And my son.
Yeah, you just told him the truth.
I told him the truth. Your dad's a loser. Your dad lost his job from drugs and alcohol today.
That ain't the truth.
No, not today. But
half of it.
That's how I felt. Like, look, that was That was the bottom point for me. Like, my life is fucking horrible here. And I don't want any more of this. I didn't know how I was not going to want any more of it, but I knew I didn't want any more of it. You know, I really knew that.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he said, I'll have your back, Dad. You know, and I got $1,800 rent. I've got car payments. I'm living a Ford money lifestyle and still dealing on the side too. So I'm like, what the hell am I going to do here? And the union said, go to the Brook, get some help, make it look good.
That's what the union said?
Yeah. That first
Was that
day.
a person that's dealing with you?
Yeah, it's a union committee man. Yeah.
One dude. He's like your advisor.
Yeah. Yeah. My advisor. That's funny. And I went to the Brook that Saturday, checked myself in for an assessment. And they assessed me, and that's when I met Christopher.
So
that
did they take
following
the
Monday.
inpatient? Did they admit you?
No, they didn't admit me. They said we'll do an outpatient program. And
there you got the miracle where you landed in Christopher Cohn's.
And because
class.
of COVID was going on,
Zoom.
we were Zooming it. So next thing I know, I'm in my car under the Zoom, Chris Cohn's class, and what am I going to do? I just want my job back.
Yeah.
So,
well, I seen you when you first started coming into meetings. You was always like 15 feet away from you really couldn't see who was in that dark area, whoever that was back there that said Tobi at the bottom of the thing.
Well, for that first week, I was still smoking pot. Maybe first couple weeks. Just, do I really want this? Not really. I just want my job
Did they
back.
have you come in and piss test?
Who? The Brook? Oh, yeah.
I mean, they did the initial assessment. They take it.
Yeah, and then they would drug test you once every other week.
Because if you're in there, they would come in or tap you on the shoulder and it's your turn or whatever. But in Zoom world, they got to say, okay, you got to come in.
You got to come in. So I remember the first 2 times, the girl I was dating, I said, hey, I need to borrow some of your pee. And I scrambled with
borrow
borrow
some of your back to you.
Yeah. And she's like, well, that's not going to work because I do Adderall, And I was like, oh, fuck. So, long story short, she knew somebody, and I got some pee. And for the first 2 times, I did the fake pee thing in the bathroom. The Brook kept the door closed.
They didn't witness.
They didn't witness anything. I was like, this is easy.
First time I ever had witness once was with when I was on home incarceration. I go down there, and they stood there and watch you. It's really hard to pee when somebody's watching you.
Oh yeah, gun shy.
I mean, like they're seeing to make sure it's coming out the end.
Yeah, and the more I did that. And like I said, the first couple of weeks, it's kind of vague and the exact time frame, but I remember.
Oh, yeah, you're detoxing. Your fucking world has just been turned completely upside down.
But I just want my job back. That's all I cared about. You remember those days. That's all I want to get my job back. Well, when I went to the Spiritual Underground meeting.
My job, too.
Yeah.
That's that self-centered, selfish. Do you have a job? Yeah. Whose is it? Mine.
My job.
You have a car? Yeah. Whose is it? Mine. Got a girlfriend? Yeah. Whose girlfriend is it? Mine.
I
Got
like
any
that.
kids? Mine.
And
I want my job back.
I don't remember, Dan, if it was the first meeting, second meeting. This guy Chris is telling me, he's talking to me. I felt like he was talking to me pretty good. Who's this badass? This guy. He's sharing his truth. He's telling me he's eating out of garbage cans, and now look at him. He's a counselor. Wow, this guy's for real, And he said, go to Spiritual Underground meeting on Tuesday nights. I don't remember if it was the first meeting or second meeting when I heard you say, I need you.
That was actually in a TSSR meeting. Man.
Was it a TSSR meeting? See, that's how vague it was. I remember seeing you a couple
I'd seen
times.
you around. It wasn't, I mean, I don't know, it might have been, I don't take a role or anything.
Yeah.
I think I'd seen you in the Spiritual Underground before, but I don't think I saw you in TSSR much, and then it seemed like you were you might be right, might be like the second time or something at TSSR.
And you said that so well on the camera, I need you to stay sober.
I said, I need to sponsor you.
There you go, yeah, something like
well,
that.
I was talking about the power of sponsorship and all that, and what it does for me, and I don't know, it just come out where I was like, I need to sponsor you. I need that as a part. I know that's a need for Dan today. Dan gonna go off a rails if he ain't sponsoring people. And then you called me up. I don't remember. Was it right after the meeting? Or?
I don't know if it was. I think it
Might have been
was
the next day. I don't know.
day. But I remember going in that
Yeah,
group.
you told me that you. I know you were talking to me. I was like, well, I wasn't really, but.
Well, now that I look back at it and know how we all converse, a little bit, I'm thinking, I wonder if Chris said, "Hey, there's this guy Tobi in his class, man. I think you guys be a good fit." You know,
He's done that before, but he didn't do it with
you
you.
might get through with him, because I felt like you were talking right to me.
Well, I take that sign, and today with Bill Wilson wrote something in this article called "Emotional Sobriety," and in it is another one of my favorite Bill Wilson lines. He says, "Now that I've had a little bit of spiritual development." When you said that you thought I was talking to you, then I guess I was at some level. That's higher power stuff.
You were.
And even though I wasn't necessarily looking at Tobi in the screen, telling Tobi that when I said it, but I did say it. I did mean it. And you specifically heard it.
Yep. And I went back to the group that next day and told Chris. Little did I know, I didn't know he sponsored you and the way all that whole works. And he started chuckling. Really, Dan Reeves? Yeah. Well, why don't you give him a call or something to that effect? And the rest was history. And but you showed
me. I could feel, and I know, and I just told a guy this. I love having new sponsees, and it's so fun. And sometimes I feel a little manipulative when I'm doing it, because I'm trying to talk you into picking up this gift somehow or another. I don't know what angle I'm going to use, but I'm going to try, and only what I'm trying to do is save your life, if I had to do a little trickery or if I had to do a little end around in order to help get into your drug-addled brain, I'll do that. And I have guys who come over and I can feel that wall in between us. That you really didn't want this, you're not here, I've had people come in and just eating it up, and I could feel both energies off of you. I could feel this energy that wanted to get the fuck out of here as fast as you could, and then also there's the little kid like inside or whatever going, help me, help me, help me. The addict was trying to drag you back out of here, and the little kid was fighting to be here, and you'd argue with me about the alcoholism and the drug addiction stuff about, and even at some point the pot wasn't your problem. I just smoked some pot, man. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and
I just need my job back.
And it started changing before me. Ford never let me have my job back. Of course, you know my story where I went back to work.
Yeah, they did. They teased you.
Yeah, they teased me. I went back to work for 2 days.
They let him come back to work, and he thought he was going to go. You tell it. You thought you was going to go in and be fired.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be fired, and they put me back on my job area. I wasn't working the line, but they put me back in my job area. They drug tested me, and I passed the drug test. I was doing pretty good. I was clean, a couple months clean, and
thought you had your damn job back and everything.
Yeah,
man.
life
was happy. And,
yeah,
and from my perspective, I go, these miracles, man, happen. This shit happens.
Yep,
it does.
How did I get my job back? Because I was told I was going to be fired when I came back to work.
I was told I was going to go to prison.
Yeah, and so I'm back on my job, happy as can be, and. Some of my coworkers are like, what is up with Tobi now? Look at him, I was genuinely happy. Things were changing. I think we were just past the third step prayer, fourth step stuff, and it didn't last long. 2 days, they made a mistake and they came and got me and
tapped you on the shoulder and said, whoops, we made a mistake. You're not supposed to be here. Kick rocks, buddy.
And I remember walking. It was a long walk to Human Resources. Of course, they didn't give me a ride in a cart that time. They told me to walk.
Yeah, where's the golf cart at?
Yeah. So I had about a mile walk, and I called you. And I remember I
was really tripped.
Yeah. And I remember, the whole God is your employer now really got to me. Like, this was, I'm going to get fired now. What am I going to do with my life?
What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Do I want this stuff or do I don't want this stuff? And I remember talking to you and the fear, and I wasn't so afraid anymore walking in that room. I knew I was getting fired, and I was just okay with it. And I was bummed out. I remember being bummed out for about a half a day, and that was
really a dirty trick.
It was.
I mean, I don't think anybody intentionally did it, but it was a dirty trick.
Yeah. But looking back,
what I know, and it's the same thing, and I don't have anything else to say back when those kind of things happen. That some other door is going to open, man. If you just keep your positive attitude and keep keep doing what you're doing, shit works out. For some reason, when you're working this, shit works out.
And it was like the crossroad time, Here I met Dan, and I'm starting to meet the fellas, and wow, this is a pretty good life. I'm accepted. And, especially when you gave me a hug for the first time and told me you loved me. That was, what man gives me a hug and says they love me? My dad didn't do that. He was military man. Rarely did I hear that word, I love you, And
I kind of like the awkwardness of that moment.
Yeah, it is awkward.
Dudes are like, what? You can almost
love
feel
me. Do I give you a pat on the back? How do I do this? A half hug, a full hug? COVID was going on. You didn't care. You gave me a hug.
I squeezed you.
Yeah. And those were the moments, that I remember going, I think I want this stuff. I think I want this, what these guys have. And yeah, I mean, it's...
And I know your third step prayer hit you real hard, too. There's a moment to where that stuff, and it's just this work does that, It begins to get you to believe in that yes, I can have this, too. I can actually get what these dudes are displaying for me.
Yeah, right here in this room. This right here in that spot. That was...
On our knees at the podcast table.
Yeah, that was the moment of... I remember driving home, too, out of here in tears, were rolling down my eyes, and they were happy tears, like...
You can feel your life changing.
Yes.
You really
I
can.
Feel it changing. I didn't know how it was going to change or what my next steps were, so to speak, but...
I told my new guy that story last night in the car about when Christopher told me he wanted to sponsor me. And it's a whirlwind and everything, and I have so much more clarity now in the rearview mirror. But I plainly remember walking out of those doors in the corner of that church and looking to the sky, knowing something had just shifted. Something has just changed. I just had the fault line slipped.
Yeah, Dan.
Didn't know what it was though.
This stuff. We hear the cliches of it. It just keeps getting better, and it's true. But that ranks up there with, you have kids, that's the best day of your lives, you get married, your best day of your lives, but that was the best day of the life that I can remember. I don't remember all that other stuff in the madness, and I remember that day being pretty close to the best day I can ever remember, just ever really remembering. Like, I remember that smell, and no, I can't remember every word you said in the prayers, and I don't remember what I said, because I said a prayer too. And
I know that third step I recite out of that book.
Oh,
I know it, but what I do when I pray, I just pray.
Yeah, and that was the moment for me, really. And
it says, sometimes effect is felt at once, even a very great one, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it says, but yeah, that third step, and it says it in the book. Sometimes it's a rocking experience, and most of the time it is. Different levels. Sometimes it takes a guy a day to sink in. Sometimes the dude breaks down crying right there on the spot.
I remember coming here that day, and you said had some shit going on, and you're like, let's meditate, and you put some meditation music on.
Yeah, we just sit here and chilled for a few minutes.
Yeah, and it got me in a good...
Change the channel.
Yep. And that was the moment, and I just can't imagine my life right now compared to what it was, and
a job came in and filled the blank.
Yep. Yeah, my buddy called me up.
I remember you talking to me about that before, about this restaurant job.
Yeah.
I remember early on, I was like, man, if you can back this on down the road a little bit, that'd be a good idea. Keep on focusing on your recovery and not get wound tight into a job yet. And you did wait a little while.
Yeah, I did.
Before it come around.
And, the money came there also to help pay the bills, and 3 kids I'm taking care of, and it's been fine since, the people I work with now, they're all in addiction, 90% of them.
Yeah.
And I sit back as like Papa Bear now, and
you're trying to herd cats.
Yeah, down the alleyways, and one guy's running down the alleyway at work. He freaked out one night, and I just shook my head, and I just try to show him how this life could be, and a lot of them are just like, wow, look at him, he's, and if I'm catching on to him, I am. If I don't know, they ask me a lot of questions about where I go all the time, and my boss is pretty lenient on me as far as hitting meetings. And
one of the speakers I've heard say, he said, and I think it's an old AA saying, but you might be the only version of the big book this guy ever meets. So be the best version of it that you can be.
I love that.
And it's not about carrying a message. It's about what we do, like I said, on Tuesday night, or what we do in our respective homes, lives, and occupations. There's a energy that comes off of us that people go, something's up with that. What's up with that dude?
Yeah.
I get it all the time.
Yeah. I get it at work all the time. And
my clients and stuff, I can tell that they're just like, and they like, I guess, I can't get out of there because they want to, and I'm not talking recovery. I'm just talking to them. I'm just being me. And they want you to hang around and keep that energy. It reminds me of a couple times over my life that I've been around some people who I've really felt their energy. But I'm into madness and I don't understand at all what it is. But I get these neck tingles when certain things happen. The few times I've been in this podcast and somebody sat across the table and played an instrument and sang, it's like, it's like a cat. I feel like a cat getting petted, I'm just like, oh man. I remember a preacher that I worked with at Serve-In when I was like 17, 18 years old. And anytime I was around him, that's the way I would feel. All I had to do is get close to him and I could feel it. And he wouldn't be at work one day or whatever, and I could go sit in his chair and feel it. And I would do that on purpose. Go feel his energy. And I had no idea what it was. I was, you get to wondering about your sexuality and everything else, and Darren did that to me.
You do that to me.
Really?
Yeah. When you went on your mountain trip for 3 weeks, whatever it was.
Well, went to Colorado?
3 meetings.
Oh, yeah.
And my
2 weeks.
Dan wasn't there, and it was like that feeling, that comforting feeling, that peaceful feeling was gone for a minute, I was okay.
I draw a lot of comfort knowing that my sponsor is my sponsor. It gives me a anchor in my life that I know that I'm supported, and it just feels good to be supported.
Mm. I watch you when he speaks in the meetings. I watch you watch him in the meetings, and you're right there. You're so connected, and I feel like that when you're talking. It really, yesterday when you were doing a lead at the meeting, and you looked at me a couple times, and I was like, oh, I fucking love Dan. I love Dan. And I remember early on you said to me, people tend to fall in love with their sponsors. And I was like, what is he talking about? Fall in love, but I get it today,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine not having you in my life on a daily
Thank
basis,
you, Tobi.
man. I mean, I really do.
Well, the gift that you give me by allowing me to do this role, is beyond any, like in the beginning, I said in the beginning of this thing, there's no way to explain it. You've had a little taste of that sponsorship juice.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's been.
And it'll come. Keep on praying.
Yeah. It's been a little rocky road with a guy that came up to me and asked me to sponsor him, and he's in a rehab facility now. But I talked to him last week for the first time in about a month, and you can just hear the changes in their voice and their verbiage.
Think about the impact you've already had on him. That he got piped out of town to some rehab joint, and basically forcibly at some level. And when he gets a chance to make a phone call, that he calls you, man, what an honor that is.
Yeah. And he said he'll be getting out in January, and I told him we'll be waiting for him. So, hopefully we'll see him around again.
Sponsees are the juice, man. It is. I truly, I believe fully that I don't pick them. Like, I don't pick my sponsees. God arranges those meetings, and golly, have I not hit the jackpot over and over and over again, over and over and over again. That's my guy last night. I'm trying not to say his name. He said, "So do you sponsor everybody in there?" I was like, "No, I don't." Seems like it. Like, no, I don't. I sponsor a lot, but not everybody.
And the guys that seem to stick, the ones you sponsor.
Yeah.
So.
And their lives are getting better, and they're doing the deal, man. And I know it's these tools, and there is some dynamic of gift to give this thing away. I know I totally understand that, and of course I had like the best teacher in the world too. So stack up that gift of gab on top of a good teacher, and I wonder if I should go into sales.
No.
So life is good today.
Yeah, life is better than I could have ever imagined right now, for today. And it's like, what's going to be tomorrow? I mean, I got some good things coming up. Today I applied to take my NCLEX tests. I went to nursing school, and this story about 10 years ago, Ford offered this go back to school thing for free, and I was like, oh yeah. I think it was the economy went bad, and it was in 2011, 12, and the economy went bad for a while. Mm-hmm. We got laid off for a few months.
8th is the one I remember, but
yeah, it was it was after that one, and I took their money and went back to school, and I'm going to be a nurse, and I chuckle about it because I went to nursing school for all the wrong reasons then. Chase women, like my daddy,
Yeah.
I was the only boy in class, and I didn't have to work, so I could study all the time. And I got an A. Oh, I got another A. Next thing I know, the girls wanted to study with me, and that's what I went there for, really. I got this Ford stuff on the back burner, and today I have no Ford stuff on the back burner, but I have a degree hanging on my wall.
Yeah, you look at how that, sometimes, not sometimes, but at times, one will look back at these chain of events in life and wonder about how that got orchestrated the way it did.
And so this morning, my morning prayer, I wasn't too happy with going in a restaurant today. And this just happened hours ago, actually.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I had some guidance, and I'm filling out the paperwork and hitting the buttons on the phone to
scheduling the test.
Scheduling my test, and I've talked about it for months. And
yep, you've been talking about it since I've known you.
Yeah, you rolled your eyes on that one too. And it was something, I had to do this stuff first. I really felt that way, that I had to get this stuff.
I agree, and I advise that.
Accomplished. And today, one of our buddies said, well, you didn't talk to your sponsor about this? And I kind of chuckled. I'm like, yeah, he knows this very well, what's going on.
Yeah.
I didn't have to ask him on this one this morning.
Yeah, it raises my hackles a little bit sometimes. I don't like our people sponsor my sponsees.
Yeah.
Muddle in my sponsoring.
Yeah. And so, I got all that paperwork done, and now it's do or die time. I've got 5 weeks to take this test, and
we do our part and take the actions and let God handle the rest. We're not responsible for the outcomes. We're responsible for the actions.
So, it's about the balance too, because you know my program. You're my program, so you know about my program. I go to meetings constantly. I stay connected. I do a lot of the readings. I'm starting to really dive into TSSR now in the book, in the readings of it. I'm falling asleep in the book now at night.
Once I bumped you off of that stuck spot you were in there in the beginning, since then, you've done everything. Everything I tell a guy needs to do to get better, you've been doing. And what's happening?
and getting better. That's right.
Yeah, that's it. I'll go back. I keep on. It's cool because when you first start working with a guy, and I don't know, these little things, and it pops up and it's all fresh. Is like, nudging my guy to speak last night. And I'm like, that's way bigger than he thinks it is. He thinks I'm punishing him almost, that it's like a punitive thing that I'm going to make him speak at the meeting,
I love
But he
it.
doesn't realize the energy of him taking that action to do that opens himself up to the group to be able to open themselves up to him too. It's the opposite of what you were doing when you first came around. You were way back in the back row, so to speak, on Zoom, back in the dark, That energy there doesn't attract anybody to come help you because you don't look like somebody wants some help.
Yep.
When you come up there and sit in that chair, because now we have a Zoom hybrid meeting and we got a speaker chair. When you go up and sit in that speaker chair, then that allows everybody to go, oh, this dude wants some help. We'll help him.
Yeah. I was never too bashful on my shares.
No, you shared from the beginning.
Yeah. And being with Chris, he pulled that out of me right away, because he calls on you.
Yeah. Yeah. He will make you participate in your recovery.
And it's exciting to see somebody do that. And you kind of want to be like them a little bit, And then last night you did your lead, and I was like, wow, he's amazing, And so he can just speak from the heart. You asked me, what step am I doing this lead on? And I knew you knew, but it's in your soul, and it's a part of you so much that I want that too. I want that, not just staying recovered, but just staying in it constantly. I love it. I love it. It's
first word of the 10 step.
Yeah, I love it.
Continue.
And this next month I have to focus on the nursing test.
Get to.
And I'm a little bit, I get to, good one. And I'm a little worried about that because it's going to take away from a little bit of what I'm doing now, And I'm like, well, I want to just stay in this stuff and learn. But the balancing act now of life, it's like,
The most valuable thing we have is our time.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I've got in recovery is a gift that, I feel like I do way more than I have time to do. It's like I got an extra day a week or something. It does, you just end up, and the opposite of that is in the big book, he talks about squandering away the hours. How do we squander away the hours? We don't squander hours anymore, man. We're productive. Yeah, you got to figure out how to partition it.
Yep. And it gets hectic at times, and it's life.
Yeah, that was hectic as hell all day long.
Today I can figure it out with some relief, where not too long ago I'd have to try to medicate to get some relief and to figure it out.
I see it happen in my life like today. I was feeling overwhelmed when I got there and didn't have no help. And I got to take the first two things I got to do is get 2 sheets of plywood on top of this roof by myself. And a sheet of plywood is not easy to get up on top of a roof by yourself. And so I just break it down. It's like one day at a time thing. But it's one task at a time. All right, how do I get that up there? All right, now I got it up there. How do I get it squared up and the building racked by myself so that I can get it up there and get the building square? And one thing at a time. And then it keeps me from getting overwhelmed with anything, because when I stood there at the beginning this morning and looking at it and everything I was hoping to have done today, and my help didn't show up, it's overwhelming. You just have to focus on that one thing. What do I do first? All right, I do this first.
Yep.
What do I do? Okay, that's done. What's next? And life is like that.
Yep. What's
the next right thing to do?
Yep. And I felt like, getting on the internet and getting that NCLEX testing accomplished was the next right thing to do. And I really feel like it's just going to blossom other things in my life that I don't even know about yet.
Well, the next right thing to do was just get the thing scheduled. Right?
Yeah.
The test is still a month away.
Yeah. And I can see about first of the year, maybe helping people with this disease,
I need that pressure deadline out in front of me, because otherwise I can just kick the can down the road indefinitely. so I do it to my detriment to some level in my work, and I was thinking about that today too, because I've got more work going on than I can possibly handle, and I'm just like, people are texting me, and I'm just saying, hey, look, I don't know. You're on my list, and I can't really tell you when I'm gonna get to you. I hate doing that.
Yeah.
I hate saying I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I do is I'll give them a date, and then I feel real pressured to make sure it happens. And at the moment, I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I have a pile of work in front of me that's going to get done, and I feel like saying, feel free to find somebody else. You don't have to wait on me. It's okay. Yeah. But yeah, you just click it off, man. I found I had to schedule stuff in my life. All my whole life is scheduled. The reason I missed Matt last night, I was supposed to meet. I said his name. I was supposed to meet him. We had an ongoing thing where we was going to meet at 6 o'clock before the meeting and do the work, and I put it in there one Tuesday, and I didn't put it in there ongoing.
On your calendar,
reoccurring.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on my calendar. So I just missed it, man. So like even that stuff, I put stuff in there like, sometimes I put in there do laundry, study for the test, and say, okay, here's 2 hours on Wednesday night. And where some of that comes from is like talking about doing a 4-step. It's that orderly. That's one of the ways that we teach orderliness and some direction in this program is by saying schedule your 4-step work. Because if you just do it when you get to it, you won't get to it.
You won't get to it, no.
But you got to say, okay, Monday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night at 9 p.m., I'm going to do step work.
Yeah.
And starts building, because now I've done something. I made some progress, and I've actually completed my little task, and the momentum is moving. And, next thing you know, this is when they say practicing these principles, that's it.
Yeah, it's a snowball effect.
It's what you have to do, you get through the steps. And now I got some guidelines, some guiding posts of how to do this thing called life. And one of them is schedule the shit I need to do.
Yep. Early on, I remember you telling me to get a calendar. Get calendars.
Get a calendar, print them out. You can go on the internet. And, I can go on the internet and print out some free calendars for keeping track of meetings.
Yep.
And, sometimes people do need that, print it out or go to the store and buy a calendar and write on it what you're going to do. Yep. It'll put some accountability to yourself to do the things you need to do.
Yeah. And in the home group members today, I called a few of them up on the Marco app and said, hey, I need some accountability, guys. Mm-hmm. Get on me, because I'm still an addict and I'm still going to slouch and procrastinate, and I know that about myself, but I also know that I have a deadline that so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm going to reach towards that.
Better schedule it.
Yeah.
Running out of gas?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel the energy changes when when the podcast is over with. There used to be everybody would go, and I'd hear that sigh. I've said it in a lot of podcasts, and I hear that sigh. It means like, okay. We used to say when you share in yoga teacher training, we'd share kind of like we do in 12-step meetings, and when you were done, you say, I feel complete.
Yeah, I feel complete right now, definitely.
Cool, man. Well, I'm proud of you. Thanks for coming in here and doing this. I kind of have a little tradition or whatever of waiting until a guy's got a year, but kind of goes into that same thing as a friend of ours said something about not making any decisions or in your first year, and another guy said, well, what was the third step? That was a hell of a decision. What do you mean by that? I don't know. I think time-related boundaries are weird. I don't necessarily believe in time-related boundaries. I think like don't make any major changes until you've worked the steps. You do that in 4 months. Cool. So same thing in here. You've worked the steps. I will rarely have somebody, I rarely invite somebody in here who hasn't done the work. Once in a while that slips in and it's happened, and it's real apparent too, and I always give a thought to that, okay, that was on purpose because that shows what somebody's recovery is like that hasn't done the work. And more power to them, because we're all on our journeys and stuff, and it's not like knocking them around or whatever. But it's real apparent to me and a lot of my listeners. They can tell when you have or haven't done this work. And so I'm glad you came in. Keep on doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Why would you not, right?
That's
like
right.
Once you get the taste of this, why not?
I can't imagine my life any other way now.
I'm gonna go around the corner and start doing what I used to do.
No
I'm just
way.
watching my life go back into wreck.
No way. No way. I found the people,
I'll tell you one more piece of advice real quick too, man. You don't get this twice. You don't get it again. This kind of what you got right now, if you relapse and come back, it won't be here anymore. You'll want it like you do for the high you used to get. Same kind of thing. Yeah, we want to get that buzz we got the first time. And this stuff is the same way.
Yeah.
I watch that happen over and over again too, man. Guys boogie and they throw away this feeling that you have today.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they really think that, but I think there's something in the back of their mind, some places telling them, don't worry about it, I can always come back. And you can always come back. But you're not going to get what you have in your life today, more likely.
Yep, I know what you mean. I can imagine that feeling.
Bopping out and then coming back and going, man, where's that juice I had last time?
Yep.
It's gone.
Travis said it well to me one time. He said, what's wrong with staying on a pink cloud forever? You know? And that's how I've been feeling since I met you, so to speak.
Hang on to it.
Yeah, I don't want it to go away.
And buckle up, Buttercup, because it does keep on getting better. It really does.
And since I completed the steps the first time, the first go around, it just keeps getting better. And I can imagine, all the different layers of my life that I'm still going to unpeel and discover about myself.
Yeah, but subsequent trips won't be like the first time.
Okay.
That's the kind of thought too, man. I had this vision that okay, I won't go through the steps again because that was so good. But subsequent trips through are not as juicy as the first one is. The momentum of a guy in his first year and the transformation that happens in that first year is so giant, and more that first trip through the steps, whatever. We celebrate guys first. The change from the dude who walks in the door to 365 days later when we're celebrating his 1 year is so vast, it's incomprehensible, But the change from 1 to 2 ain't. It's like a crawl from there on out.
Yeah.
And it's still good stuff happens and stuff, but it's just not on the it's not on the level of what that first blast is.
So hold on to this.
It's what's so fun to watch, man.
Hold on to this for dear life, this feeling.
And it's that's why, it's one of the reasons it's the juice that I get watching, to be playing a part. I said, the tool in the master's hands, handing off these tools that were handed to me, and getting to be a part of that, and have your sponsees fall in love with you.
Oh boy! Now everybody knows I'm in love with Mr. Dan. That's awesome.
I don't think you're the only one. Seems like everybody had to go out and buy a goddamn slingshot over the last few days. I got a slingshot for a couple of weeks, yeah.
I didn't know you started that.
Vlad come over and I shot, and I did a little Marco Polo with it a couple of times. I said something, I had it on the Marco Polo, and then Vlad was like, oh, he's drooling all over it. Next thing you know, he's got one. Yeah. He's putting it on the Marco Polo, and I'll be damned if we don't got a goddamn slingshot team going on.
Yeah, we got a competition going on.
Got to form an Olympic team.
That's funny.
Yeah, it always has to go straight to competition too. And I'm
does.
just not a competitive type of dude. I am not. I play games, go with Holly and play games, and she is super ultra competitive, man, and turned me off. And I just am not. Now we got to figure out who the best slingshot shooter is, and the fucking thing hasn't even come to your mailbox yet.
You're right. We're all trying to get better slingshots.
Yeah.
Mine has the crosshair.
And I see those little pieces of junk y'all bought. Nobody even bought a real slingshot.
Amazon. But you know what? When I bought that slingshot today, I did think about my kids learning how to slingshot.
It's a cool thing, yeah.
Because I never learned, Wow.
Homemade, dude.
Wow.
I got a slingshot's a piece of wood that I've been making homemade slingshots since I was a little kid. And you see a fork in a tree, and it's just exactly perfect.
That is exactly perfect, Dan. Wow.
Can't pass it up, you know. You got to tie your own bands on that one.
Yeah.
My slingshot, the bands clamp on. And you can shoot them between the forks. I can send you some YouTube videos of some dudes doing. That's what happened to me. As my YouTube knew I would like this because I like traditional archery. It's almost like shooting a traditional bow. It's the same form and everything. I mean, it's exactly like shooting a bow. And they fed me YouTube fed me a slingshot thing, man, and I went in a rabbit hole on it. And next thing you know, one come in the mail, and I didn't say nothing to nobody about it.
That's pretty cool.
And I've been taking mine out hunting. I snapped a squirrel out in the backyard the other day, man.
Oh, damn.
Thumped him. And
He run away?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep, I didn't kill him.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. I don't know that I didn't kill him on the spot. It slapped him hard enough, and I don't know what happened. But we have to do squirrel population control here on Hedden Park on a regular basis. They just get, it's nothing to look out in the backyard, and there'll be a dozen or more of them in the backyard. You hear them acorns hitting the roof.
Oh, I hear them. Yeah. Yeah, I got a few
My
dropped
very
on
first,
me.
my very first podcast with Chase in here, the acorns were raining out of the trees, man. The whole podcast sounds like rifle shots.
Wow.
And I tried to edit them out. I went in because I could go in this program and clip them out.
Background noise.
And you couldn't even, no, I was actually trying to manually find the spikes. And before I knew, now I wonder if I couldn't do the noise reduction thing like I do when I turn an air conditioner off on it or something like that with those hits. But I think they're all probably a little bit different tone, so I don't know that it would clue in on them that well. I don't know. I ought to try it sometime. I ought to go back and get that old one out and see if I could do it. But yeah, that first one, Chase was in here, man. There's a bang, bang, ting, 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 ting. Acorns falling. And October always reminds me of that because that's recorded the first one in here in 2018, October 2018, on a school cafeteria table I had in here.
Now look at you. It's amazing in here.
Now I got my own podcast table. Cool, man. Well, let's tie a bow around this thing. Again, proud as hell of you. Doing the deal, man. Really are just shining example of what this work does, man. And people see that. And the new guys come in our meeting and they see, what is up with that dude? Well, he's got the juice. That's what's up with that dude. A big dose of the juice. So keep on drinking the juice, man.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
Never let it go.
For help shaping me.
Because it's a perfect example of if you're not having a blast in your recovery, it's your own damn fault, man. Take the action, do this work. Blast off. And thank everyone out there for allowing Tobi and I to participate in our recoveries in this manner today. Peace out.